Hey everyone, welcome to the webinar for BrainCore neurofeedback patient acquisition. We're just gonna let everyone fill in right now for the next couple minutes. So we're just gonna give it a couple minutes to let everyone get into the webinar here. So thanks for your patience. Great, and while we're waiting, in case it looks like we have about 20 people on, we're expecting around 60 or 70 or so. While we're waiting, what I'd like those of you who just logged on to do is maybe type in some questions that you have about your free consultation that you do or your initial patient contact. That's a lot of what we're going to be going over today. So if you have any problems like how to deal with the insurance question, or when someone, a spouse says, I can't make a decision on the QEEG yet, what do I do next? If you can throw in any questions or challenges that you're having, I'd love to go through those as well and then work them into our training here today. So we'll wait till 12:05 before we start going into the training itself. Great. So I have one question right now that someone has forwarded to me. They're asking, when you first contact someone through the phone, it's a new lead and you contact them and they ask you, what's the price of the program? What should you do? There's one of two different ways to deal with that. And, I'll show you both ways that work the best for our clinics. Let's say you're the type of clinic that doesn't want to give the full price away of your program. What you can do is say this. The cost of the program is heavily dependent on, what kind of issues you're working with, the severity of the symptoms and things like that. It's similar to when you take your vehicle into a shop, or you just call the mechanic and go, hey, my truck is broken. How much does it cost to fix it? The mechanic is going to say, hey, can you bring your truck in first so I can take a look at everything, so I can know the full scope of the equipment that needs to be fixed, and then I can give you a price. It's similar like that with neurofeedback and BrainCore. Until we see the severity of your symptoms, we won't know exactly what kind of treatment plan we're looking at or what you would need to do to really help out alleviate some of those symptoms. So that's generally what I train my clinics on saying, so that they can still get people in the door and then build the value of the program. Another question that was asked is, okay. Yeah, so another question that was asked is when people want to, you're having a low lead to patient volume. So you're getting some leads, but you're not getting enough patients, coming in for your first consultation. What's the reasoning behind that? There's three main factors for that. So if you have a ton of leads, the number one factor is how quickly you get back to them. So if you get back to them within 5 or 10 minutes, or your staff does rather than you, the amount of people that go through your door goes up by 300 to 400%. It's not even like a linear increase, it's an exponential increase. So contacting them back within 5 to 10 minutes is a big deal. Most leads, you only get a hold of them when you try to reach out the 5th or 6th time. That's not because they're not interested, it's just that they're very busy on a day-to-day basis. So it's hard for them to pick up the phone or answer a text or whatever else it might be. So you need to continue to be persistent in that regard. Okay, great. We, it's 5 minutes into our webinar now, so we're going to get going. And I'm going to share my screen here. As we go along the webinar, feel free just to pop in some questions as we go, and I'll answer them where it's appropriate, and we'll make sure to get through all of them. So once again, my name is David Quon. My company specializes in growing neurofeedback clinics. So patient lead generation, consultations. I train clinic owners like yourself, and then also the admin staff. So we're going to be talking about patient acquisition today and how to really, do your first consultation in the best way possible so that you can dramatically increase the number of QEEGs you get, and of course the number of patients you get, and increase the dollar amount you can charge patients for your treatment programs. So over the last 30 days, we've onboarded a bunch of different BrainCore clinics. We've driven over 27 new patients to clinics. It's been very successful. We have Sean from New Orleans here. We actually had to pause his program. I'm going to just play his video for you. He, I think, was only with us for about 2 weeks. I'm going to let Sean talk here for the next 30 seconds.
Hi, my name is Sean O'Donnell. I work at BrainCore NOLA in New Orleans, Louisiana. The folks at Quon asked me to share my experience with you guys. So we signed up in mid-June, and after about a week and a half of getting the ads set up and all the back office stuff done, we launched our campaign at the end of June. And within 1 day, we had 10 leads, and within 12 days, we had 24 leads. And the leads came in so fast and furious that we actually had to suspend the campaign. We're a little constrained with our time and space right now in our business, and we had so many leads that we actually had to stop taking leads. We're completely booked, and now we're running out and getting new office space that's going to give us more time and capacity to handle the business that's been generated with the leads. So all I can say is things have been working thus far. Everything is great. We're having a...
So we've had some great results with all the clinics that we're working with. There's also John Stevenson from Edmonton. He is, I think that just this week alone, we have about 8 to 10 consultations for him. I won't play his video. Long story short, we're not talking about generating leads today. We're assuming you can already generate leads. If you can't, contact us. We'll help you out with that. We're going to assume you already have leads, and now you want to turn those free consultations into QEGs. So we're going to be really looking at patient consultation and needs analysis when you're meeting with a patient. And we're also going to be looking at the training and skill that you as the health practitioner need to be able to generate 3 to 5, 10 or more patients per month. And what you're going to find is the better you get at this one skill that we're going to practice today, the way better and the more patients that you're going to have coming through your clinic. So the benefits of today's training: you should be efficiently turning leads into QEEGs. You should be able to build value and charge more for your BrainCore program. One of our other clinics that joined with us 30 days ago, she went from charging $2,000 for her program to about $35 or $37. pardon me, to about $3,500 to $3,700. So that's 150% increase there. That's really important, and with this skill, you'll be able to charge a lot more money and really help out more patients. We'll show you how to overcome objections, increase your closing ratio with patients, and execute proper follow-up with your patients. So we're going to be going over the training list. We're not going through every single one of these things today, but I did want to show you, essentially, we have after meeting with all of our clinics and training them, they said, David, it would be great if you could make all these videos for us, give us all that documentation, and I wish I would have had it 3 or 4 months ago. So what we've done is we've put all the documents together, all the videos to train your staff and to train you together. So for instance, after you get leads, we have videos showing you how to find patient pain points, turning them into QEGs, what the first phone call should look like, exactly what to say and not to say, what the lead intake manual is that we use and train our clinics on, and then frequently asked questions by clinics. Before getting leads, we also show clinics how our system works, how to motivate yourself, how to track your employees' results and the KPIs and success report cards. Here's an example of the success report card that we keep track of with each one of our clinics. So it really tracks the patient to lead ratio, the consultation, the QEGs, all those pieces. And then during your first consultation, we also have a ton of videos and documents that you can use that will dramatically help you book a lot more QEGs and then a lot more patients. So as we're going through here, normally the training itself is $2,500. Because BrainCore has stepped in, we're now selling it for just $7. And it is available for the first 30 clinics that go to this link here. And this link, when you click it, will take you to a page like this, and then you can sign up and go through PayPal. Now, the link itself is pretty simple. It's just gustinquon.com/training. And then you'll go to the landing page. So let's get into actual practice and show you what we can do right now to really help out get better results for you in your clinic. So the skills that we're going to be learning to do today, we're not going to learn how to build rapport, but if you need to, that's on the website as well. We have videos and documents and training on how to do that. We're going to specifically learn 3 different ways to listen to the patient. This is all on the training website as well. We're going to listen to respond, listen to understand, then listen to understand, then to be understood. When you do this skill well, you will, like I said, be able to show the value in your program, sell for a lot more, and turn a lot more people into QEEGs. So let's jump into this right away. I'm going to pull up our BrainCore manual here. So this is the manual that we train all of our clinics on. And so this manual that we've done here, we've basically tried to make it as simple and easy to train someone. And so what we've done is we've organized all the best open-ended questions here, and we're going to use those in a second. Then we've organized the pattern in which you ask them to get the answers you want. And then we also have a template here that you can fill out when you're with patients. So you can fill out your patient name, the patient rapport notes. That's when you get to know the patient better, the patient gets to know you better. The patient needs, and you fill this out. And the whole point of this document right here is when you fill this out, you'll understand exactly what the patient wants. They'll feel like they like you, they understand you, and so they're much more highly likely to really buy from you, and they'll see the value in your $3,000 to $4,000 program or whatever you're charging. So what a real template looks like when it's filled out properly is something like this. So a patient name, it might be Charlie, and maybe Jane is Charlie's dad, and Charlie has ADHD. These are all the different pain points we got from the patient. And once we know these pain points, it's very, very easy to turn them into a QEEG. So what I want to do is show you exactly how to do that step by step, and I'm going to role play a scenario and what it should look like. One last piece before we go into the role play. I also want you to know at the bottom of the manual, we show you step by step what to say, how to say it, and all those different things. So step 1, you build rapport, takes 5 to 10 minutes, get to know them. You take off your health practitioner hat, put it to the side. You're one human being connecting with another human being. Getting to know what they do in their spare time, what's their family like, what things you have in common. That allows them to like you, be comfortable with you, and trust you. Step 2 is what we're going to focus in on right now. We're going to learn how to ask open-ended questions, get 4 to 5 pain points, and that's where the magic happens. We're not going to give them solutions. We're just going to ask them questions to elicit the stuff that we want. And then I'll go through all these other steps in order. So let's start off right here with open-ended questions. So I've listed them all here. This is extremely effective. The top clinics do this, and you can see why it's so effective. what we're going to do is we're going to ask an open-ended question. So for instance, we're going to be dealing, our first example is with a child, Charlie, that has ADHD, and his mother's name is Jane. So I'm going to ask Jane, how does your child with ADHD affect your family life? And what's going to happen is we're going to see this pattern occur. So I want everyone to really take a second and look at this. So when we ask that open-ended question, they're going to give us an answer. The patient's going to give us an answer, okay? We're going to repeat their answer back to them and ask them to give us more detail. Then they're going to give us the real answer, and they usually give the emotion behind it. Then you're done, and you have one bullet point and one patient pain point. So let's see what this looks like in real life. So how does a child, so the question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to be the doctor here, is how does Charlie and his ADHD affect your family life? Okay, so let's go down to this document right now. This is what we're working with. So let's say I'm talking to Jane, Charlie's in the room, and I might ask Jane, Jane, thanks for giving me all this information, about you personally. I wanted to ask you some more questions about Charlie, just to really get to know your situations better. Can you tell me how ADHD is really affecting, how Charlie's ADHD is really affecting the family life right now? And now Jane is going to respond to that question, and she's going to say something like, you know what, it's really tough to deal with. The ADHD, it's just so tough to deal with. We don't know what to do. It really kicks into high gear sometimes, and we're just at a loss. So in my mind, I would write down on a piece of paper, it's tough to deal with. That's really her answer. Now, part of the pattern that you want to follow is repeat that answer back to her and ask her to give you more details. So I'm the doctor again, and I would say, okay, Jane, I hear what you're saying. It sounds like Charlie's ADHD is really tough to deal with. Can you give me a little bit more detail or explain that a little bit further? So I repeat it back to her so she knows I heard her. 2, she's going to feel like I'm starting to understand her. And now she's going to give me the real answer. So Jane, can you tell, when you say it's tough to deal with Charlie's ADHD, can you give me an example of what that looks like or tell me more details? And then she'll say the real answer. David, he's just always driving us crazy. Like, it's hard for us to really control him. And it's just extremely frustrating to me and my husband. Like I said, we're at our wit's end. We don't know what to do. And so at this point, now you have the emotion attached. She told us she was frustrated. She's told us the specific answer, like it's really driving her crazy. And this is really important for all the clinic owners to really understand. Jane is not coming into your clinic because her son has ADHD. She's not even coming into the clinic because it's tough to deal with. She's really coming into the clinic because her son's always driving her crazy, and it's very frustrating for her and her husband. If you can show later on, not right now, but if you can show how BrainCore can help alleviate these 2 issues, now you're building value in your program, and she's going to be highly likely to do the QEEG. So all we say is, Jane, I hear what you're saying. It sounds like his ADHD is really driving you crazy, and that must be very frustrating, for you and your husband, and I totally get that. Boom. So that's one big check mark. All we do now is we go back up, to this list, and then we pick out a second, a second open-ended question, and go from there. So maybe I'll just pick this one here. If there was one major issue or symptom that you're hoping to get relief from, what would that be? So that's what I'm going to ask Jane now. So Jane, if there was one major symptom that you're hoping to get relief from, what would that be? And Jane might respond, you know what? Charlie's just very emotionally unstable. Like, you just wouldn't believe it. It's crazy how bad it can get sometimes. So I stop there for a second and I follow the pattern. So the pattern is I repeat her answer back to her and then ask her to give me a little bit more detail. So Jane, when you say Charlie's really emotionally unstable, can you tell me what that looks like from your point of view? And then she'll say, oh, you know what, he just gets a lot of raging outbursts. Like he gets really angry or extremely energetic and starts running around, and it's like, it is so tough to deal with. And you'll notice that she didn't give me the emotional component from that. She said he gets raging outbursts, but she didn't tell me how it feels for her. So in our package here, if they ever don't get an emotional answer or give you one, you can ask the parent the following question: how does that impact you emotionally? Or how does that feel when you're experiencing that symptom of emotional outburst from Charlie? So since she didn't give me an emotion, I'm going to ask her this question: how does that impact you emotionally? So open-ended question, you know, if there's one symptom you'd want to get relief from, what would it be? Jane responds, you know, he's emotionally unstable all the time. I'd like to get help with that. Then we repeat it back to her. When you say emotionally unstable, what does that look like to you? And she goes, oh, raging outbursts. It's unbelievable. Like so much energy everywhere. We don't know how to contain it. And then we ask that question: when he gives you those raging outbursts, Jane, how does that affect you emotionally? And that's where she'll say, you know what, it just emotionally drains me and my husband every day. We just don't know what to do, and we're at the end of our rope. And then we sympathize with her and say, I can see why that would be emotionally draining, Jane, and I hear what you're saying there. So I want to stop there for a second, and let you guys ask some questions if you have any right now. But essentially, we ask the open-ended question. They give us an answer. Then what do we do with that answer, guys? I'm asking you just so you can kind of think about it for a second. And the answer should be, you repeat it back to them. And then you ask, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Or can you describe that a little bit more for me? Then they give you the real answer. And then what do you do with that? Repeat it back to them. And if they didn't give you an emotion, like down here, all you do is you ask, you know, when he gets raging outbursts, how does that impact you emotionally? And then you're able to fill this chart all the way through. So that's how you can deal with that, and that's how you can fill out this chart. Okay, I'm not going to do the last two examples because we're going to be running out of time. But essentially, when you fill out this chart, it's very, very easy to turn them from just a normal patient into a QEEG. Now, why is that? Think about it if you're in front of a parent right now. All these questions we're asking them is making them realize how frustrated they are, how emotionally drained they are every day, how it's hard for them to connect to their, to their children, and then, they don't want something that gives long-term problems. You ask these questions because then it makes the parent or the patient realize how big of an issue this is, and then at the end, telling them that they can do a QEG for $350 or whatever you charge. It's very easy for them to see the value of this program. Now, what most clinicians do, is when a patient comes in, they just go, hey, why are you at my clinic? And, they'll say, oh, my son has ADHD and he fidgets a lot, impossible to focus. And the clinician usually goes, oh, he fidgets a lot and impossible to focus. I can help you with all that. I'm really good. BrainCore is really good at helping out with that. We do a bunch of different sessions. You'll see those symptoms start to alleviate and everything else. Oh, and by the way, it's $3,000. And what the patient hears is, you didn't listen to me. You didn't ask me questions to know what the real deep reason is that I'm coming down here. And you haven't emotionally connected with me. So all I hear is that I can do this treatment program and it cost me $3,000. And then they're very highly unlikely to get the QEG and highly unlikely to do the program for $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 because they don't see the value in it. Okay. Great. So I have a couple questions here that I want to go over. Susan Sykes says, I have a small office. It's just me and one assistant. I think it's been hard for my assistant to follow up quickly. How can I help her? Quick answer, Susan, is email me directly or let's set up a time to get together, and we can follow up on your leads for you. And I'll just do it for you so that you can get a lot more patients through the door. Easy to do. We can just help you wake up and succeed, and we'll have more patients booked in. And then Susan, again, great question. Some people have a hard time discussing emotions. How do you ask them indirectly how it makes them feel? That's, there's two different ways to do it. This is the best way I've seen it done. And you know what? You don't have to ask this every single time, Susan, but this question is almost like 100% success rate when I've done it with my clinic owners. I've got them to do it and get them to record it. The most important thing is when you ask these questions, you come from a place of healing and I'll say love, because you want to help them out. So if you ask them, and this is the wrong way to do it, if you ask them, how does that make you feel? Really bad, because there's no empathy there. What you should be asking in a tonality is, it sounds like there's a lot of raging outbursts, and how does that affect you emotionally when you see Charlie do that? When you ask it with that tonality and trying to connect with them, they feel that and they give you those answers quite freely. So Susan, contact me specifically. You and I can go over this, and I'll set aside an hour training for you and me to go over that. Michelle Baker, this is my first webinar, new clinic. Are these slides available to us after the webinar? Answer is yes. And then Candace, I'll get back to you right afterwards. And yes, I can. We'll help you out as well. So I'm going to actually have a session set up with you, Candace, already. So we can definitely do that. Okay, let's get back to the training. And okay, so let's keep this in mind here for a second. So let's pretend you asked all the open-ended questions and you filled this out. That means you know everything that this patient needs to hear to do your QEG and do your the BrainCore program afterwards. So all you need to do is show how BrainCore will help alleviate some of these symptoms and explain the BrainCore process. So I'm just going to scroll down to this part here. Remember, I have all the steps written out here, what to say, how to say it. Now, this is what I've noticed my clinics do. You're not forced to say this. This is your own business. But you're going to notice I talk about a lot of pieces of good news, and I have those different pieces in here. So we got the 4 to 5 pain points. I didn't give solutions to any of their pain points. Now we're going to talk about BrainCore, their symptoms of their condition, and dysregulation. So let's say I'm sitting in front of Jane right now. What I would say is, Jane, I'm hearing what you're saying. Charlie's driving you crazy a lot of time. It's extremely frustrating for you and your husband. He's having a lot of raging outbursts, and that's emotionally draining for you guys at the end of the day. You find it impossible for Charlie to focus, and that makes it hard for you to connect mother to son. And you're really afraid of any kind of side effects of prescription drugs, and you want something that doesn't have any long-term issues. Have I heard everything that's really important to you, Jane? And at this point, she'll say yes, or she'll put in one more piece in there, and then you have everything. Now what you should do is talk about BrainCore itself. So I would go, Jane, I'm really glad that you came in today. I'm interviewing you today and doing this free consultation because I want to see if the program's a good fit for Charlie and if Charlie was a good fit for our program. And the answer is he absolutely is. Now, a lot of these side effects, not side effects, but a lot of these symptoms that you're experiencing are due to brainwave dysregulation. And so what we find with a lot of our patients is when you improve that dysregulation, a lot of these symptoms, can be alleviated. What that means for you, Jane, is that, instead of driving you crazy all the time, you're going to feel a lot less frustrated with Charlie. You're saying that it's impossible for him to focus. You'll see that symptom start to be alleviated in a lot of cases. and you're going to find it's easier for you to connect mother to son. A lot of these side effects that you're afraid of, the good news is BrainCore doesn't have any of those side effects, and there's no prescription drugs involved, and there's no long-term issues with neurofeedback. So, all those things that you're looking to improve, that's exactly what our program is about, and that's how we help alleviate a lot of these symptoms. So that's what you tell them once you have this filled out. And from the patient's point of view, they go, oh my God, I've been so frustrated. This doctor understands me, has all my pain points. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I just want to help. Now that I realize how big of an issue I have, I really want to fix this. So once you say that all to the patient, then I'm just going to go down here so you guys can see where I'm going next. Now I tell them, I ask them, how committed are they, to helping out their patients on a scale from 1 to 10, or their son in this case. So I would go, Jane, how committed are you to helping out Charlie on a scale from 1 to 10 and finding helping alleviate some of these symptoms? 10 being it's the most important thing to you in the world, and 1 being it's not really that important at all. And the reason you ask her this is because she'll say a 7, 8, 9, or 10, and that means she's highly committed, and it will allow her to realize, man, I really need to do a QEEG to see what the next step is. So Jane, on a scale from 1 to 10, how important is this for you to really help out Charlie and find a long-lasting solution, to helping alleviate a lot of these symptoms? A 10 being the most important thing, and a 1 being not important at all. Jane says, oh, you know what, it's an 8. Then you say to Jane, I'm glad that you said that, because we're really interested in only helping out those patients that want, long-lasting change and are looking to really help out and do the work for that. Nothing in life is easy if you want long-term permanent change, but Charlie's a great fit for our program. And the next normal step here is for us to do a QEEG, which is a brain map. Now, there's a couple good pieces of news about our brain map. I'm just going to scroll down here. That's all of these things here. Now, the first piece of good news for the brain map is Charlie's a great fit for our program and vice versa. Now, what the brain map does is it actually gives us a visual of what a normal brain looks like and what a brain with ADHD looks like. And feel free, clinicians, to actually show them that brain map at this point and go, here's a normal brain, here's a brain with ADHD. And you can see there's a big difference here. The ADHD, like this picture, shows why we're having all these symptoms that you're talking about today. And when we do the brain map, Jane, you'll be able to scientifically and visually see why you're having, this frustration with Charlie, why it's emotionally draining for you, why it's hard for him to focus, and why all those issues are occurring. Does that make sense to you? And she'll go, oh yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Now, the other piece of good news, and I'm just going to scroll down here so you guys can see me saying it word for word. The other piece of good news is normally the price of our QEEG is, you can talk about competitor pricing here. I've noticed when I've done competition pricing is that a lot of people are charging, $500, $800, sometimes even $1,000 for a brain map. So if you have competitors charging a lot more money, this is where you should bring it up and show the difference in your program. So I'm going to use the example of a competitor charging $600 for a brain map. I'm going to pretend that my brain map's $300. So the third piece of good news, Jane, is if you get brain maps done in other clinics, sometimes it's as high as $600. We're doing brain maps right now for only $300. So you're saving $300 off the bat, plus you're getting that visual of what's happening in Charlie's brain. And the other piece of good news is that when you do that brain map, you can stop right there. You don't have to do the program any further. But if you do decide to do the program later on, you can take the price, that $300, off the full price of our program. So there's no risk to you or Charlie. The cost is minimal. You'll save $300. And you can decide later on if you want to go through with the program. And then you say, how does everything sound to you so far? and you'll see the patient pop, meaning they're pretty excited, and they'll say something like good or great or something like that. And then what you do is you go, great. The next step is to actually do the brain map. And we are really fortunate because normally we're very booked up, but we do have 3 spots available this week. One of these spots is available right now. Would you like to do it right now? And if she says yes, boom, you do it. If she goes, oh, I can't do it right now, you can say, hey, give her 2 or 3 options. Thursday afternoon, Thursday morning, and Friday afternoon are available. Which day works best for you? And you should assume that they want to do the QEEG at this point, or QEEG, just because you've built up so much value in their minds. And there's only 2 options. They either say, yes, I want the QEEG, or 2, they go, you know what, I need to think about it, or I need to talk to my spouse, or I need to talk to my psychologist, or I need to some other excuse, or not excuse, but it might be valid. That's totally fine. If they say that, if they say, hey, I need to meet with my third party before I do anything, or I can't make a decision right now, can I think about it? Your response should be, I'm glad you're collaborating with your spouse, your husband, that makes sense. What's normal at this point is that I send you home with all this information to look over, and you can discuss it with your husband. I normally call you back after 2 days. Here are the 3 times that work best for me to touch base with you and your husband, John. The reason I touch base with you is because your husband will have a lot of questions, and you might have some as well after thinking about this. This way, your husband will have an opportunity to ask me some questions, as well as I know there's a lot of information to process. You know, which of the 3 times would work best for you? Now, why do you do that piece? Because when the wife goes home, she already explained to you all of her pain points, like she's frustrated, emotionally drained, and everything else. But when she goes home to the husband's going to go, so how much is it going to cost? And he won't even ask her about her pain points. So you need to send her home with that sheet of pain points. Then you need to talk to her husband, ask him some open-ended questions, make him realize how bad the situation is so that he sees value in the program as well. And that's how a great first consultation can go. And that's how you can book a lot of QEGs and patients, very, very well. So just to do some recaps, just to do a couple recaps here, you should be filling out the rapport. That means you getting to know the patient, not about their depression or ADHD, just get to know them a little bit better. You should fill this piece. You get 4 to 5 pain points. That dramatically increases the value of your program, meaning it's well worth $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And it's more highly likely that they'll do the QEEG piece. Then once you have this all filled out, then you go on talking about the brainwave dysregulation. Feel free to show, brain maps. Dr. Guy has a great video on explaining a brain map. And then you should be giving them the good pieces of news here, building up the value of your program, and then assuming that they want to go along with it, and then sign them up for the QEEG. So this is important to practice over and over and over again. I have a depression example down here as well. Like I said, all this, everything that you need training on, all the videos and everything else, it's step by step in here on our training program here. That's all in here. It's very easy to find and to practice yourself. I was just going to let you know again, the link for that training is gustinquon.com/training. And it's only $7 instead of $2,500. And that's for the first 30 clinics that go there. Now I want to pause for a second and answer some questions here. Lana, I hope you're saying your name right. Do you think it would be beneficial for the BrainCore tech to consult with the patient interested and then relaying that info to the doctor? It depends. So as you can imagine, Lana, I would personally rather have you do this part first because 1, you're probably more skilled at talking to patients. 2, patients look up to you as the doctor or health practitioner and feel like they can trust you a little bit more. And 3, you're just much more skilled at it probably than the tech would be. Now, if the tech is open to being trained and the tech is highly skilled at filling this out, then the answer is yes, I would get them to do that because it saves you time and energy. And then the tech could put out her time to book more patients and get the QEEGs done. And then, of course, that saves your time, and then you can just get them to start doing the program. I've very rarely seen that situation work because I very rarely have seen a tech who's extremely good at getting patient needs like this. So hopefully that answers your question. Darren Whitaker, is it still of value to do this process even if the client is on board and ready to go? Absolutely. So Darren just asked a great question. Is it great to do this process even if the client's on board and ready to go? I would, and the reason being, they'll like you more, they'll trust you more, and then you know what the measurables are at the end of the program. So if you just know they have ADHD and they just want to help out with ADHD, but you don't have the specific answers or things that they want to get help with, then at the end of the program, it's going to be, you can't manage what you don't measure, and you don't know what they want to measure. So I would get that, because once you get this done well, then you can ask them for referrals, or you can say, hey, how did the program work out? I know you want to, focus a lot better. How's your focus now? And they'll say, oh, it was way better. Okay, great. You didn't want any side effects. Do you feel any negative side effects? Oh, you don't? Great. And you can go that with them, and they'll be extremely excited about your program, which means that they'll be more likely to give you referrals, and it'll just be better overall for your business. Susan Sykes, do you have an image of a normal brain map? I don't. It's a good question, Susan. I don't have one right now in front of me, but you could do your own brain map if you wanted, or someone you know. You could contact, head office, BrainCore. They probably have one as well. I don't have one off the top of my head, though. Rhonda Roddy, what's a reasonable time for a consult to last? It depends. In the beginning, a consult is normally 45 minutes to an hour long, okay? Whenever clinicians are new, they're usually not good. Well, they're usually not good at this process, so it takes them a while to go through it. And so when clinics do start off, I do suggest having an hour. It dramatically increases the time you're with the patient, but then the patient likes you more, they trust you more, you're able to get all these information pieces out of them, and you start booking a lot more QEEGs from that. Now, once you get really good at this, then you can start shrinking it down. Like instead of an hour, then it can go to 45 minutes, sometimes even as half an hour. But in the beginning, I would suggest 45 minutes to an hour. Ashley Wilson, are the manuscripts on that training website? Answer's yes, Ashley. Everything is on the website. Like all the BrainCore manuals that I've made up. This part here, how to find your patient's pain points and convert them into a QEEG, they're on there. Our phone scripts for phoning, patients are on there. Lead intake manual, everything's on there. Like anything and everything that I have is on there. I have to get back to work in 15 minutes, says Lana. How do I get access to those forms? So Lana, the forms are on this link right here. So gustinquon.com/training. You go there and it'll all be on there. And we'll send this out to everybody as well. So we'll send out a link to everyone at the end. Okay, so let's get back to our training. And thanks for all the questions, by the way. So once you fill this out, you should, most clinicians kind of feel uneasy, asking, hey, do you want to do the QEEG now? So instead of asking that, what you should be doing is just assuming they want to go with it and which day they would like to start. So I just want to reiterate this one more time. You ask them, so how does everything sound so far? And they'll usually say great. And you go, okay, next step is do the brain map. And we're normally booked up, but we do have a spot available. We have 3 spots available this week. One of the spots is right now. Would you like to go ahead and do it right now or do it later on next week? We have Thursday afternoon and Friday afternoon available. And then boom, they do the QEEG. So that's how you handle it. If you have specific questions on, specific, if they say this, what else do I say? Feel free to email that to me. That's in all the documents that I have. I have a live running document of what to say when people give some information back. Going back to our piece, here on the webinar, I want to go through a couple different things here. Some people ask for the training center. Normally, we said that's a $2,500 value. BrainCore is paying the 99% of it. It's now only $7. It has training for your admin staff, for you, and for the tech in case they need it. And then we follow a ton of the different pieces. So just to give you an example of what's in there, we show you how to find your patient's pain points and converse them. I show you videos, step-by-step how to do it. Show you the first phone call with your potential leads, what to say and not to say. Your BrainCore lead intake manual, I show you what to text, how to text, email, and phone call. The frequently asked questions that other clinics wonder about, we have answers to that, like, what do you say about insurance? How do you get around the insurance question? If I don't want to say the price of the program, how do I still get them into my clinic? We show you how our system works in case you just want to do it yourself. We show you how to keep motivation for yourself. We show you the KPIs, so key performance indicators and report cards that you should do month over month with you and your employees. And then we show you how other BrainCore clinics landed 3 new patients in their first month. We show you the skill of how to listen, understand, and be understood. We show the most open-ended questions and how to use them. We show how to build rapport with patients. So if you're uncomfortable really talking to other patients and really connecting with them as a person to person, we show how to do that. I give you examples of myself doing it with ADHD patients in the free consultations. I also have one with depression. And then we give you the BrainCore manual with everything inside of it. And then we also show you me training, show myself training 3 to 4 health practitioners at the same time, how do you use the patient pain document. So there's also other things that BrainCore is paying for right now. If you want 1.5 hours of live training with myself, normally that's $500. BrainCore is paying for that for free right now. So for those of you who are online right now and you need help, let me know and I can set up a time with you to do that, to make sure that you're doing a much better job, getting QEEGs and then getting patients out of that. We can practice whatever skills you want. If you need, overcoming objections or looking at templates or listening to understand then to be understood, whatever you need, those 1.5 hours is paid for by BrainCore, so go ahead and use those. If you want access to the online training center, normally it's $2,500. Right now it's $7, and that includes the training for everything. We also have our lead generation package. We call this the Wake Up and Succeed package. Now, if you need us to generate 30 to 60 leads for you per month, create the ads, the landing page creation, the phone, email, and text scripts, which is a $2,000 value. If you need the software and training, that's a $2,000 to $2,500 value. Monthly consultations, $500 value. And then we call your leads and set them up for you. That's a $1,500 value. We do all of that so that you can just wake up and have appointments booked into your schedule. That's why we call it our Wake Up and Succeed package. We're finding that we're sending so many leads to our clinics that sometimes they can't get back to them in time. So if you just need a lot of leads and a lot of patients, feel free to go over this package and contact us about that. So I'm going to leave that up there right now. I do have some other questions, and I'm going to answer some more questions. So feel free, everyone, to ask more questions as we go on here. Okay, so one of the other questions that I had is, David, I'm having trouble when I talk to leads for the first time. I might get an inquiry, they phone my office once, but then they don't contact us back again. What should I do? So And so there's two issues there. If someone calls your clinic and you call them back, you leave a message and they don't call back, two things happen there. Number one, your staff, clinic, or yourself should have followed up 5 to 7 times. Okay, that's a phone call, email, and text. That's one contact, and you should have done that 5 to 7 times. When you do that, the amount of people that come into your clinic skyrockets. And it's the thing I have to repeat over and over again for our clinics because it's just a marketing thing. It makes a massive, massive difference. Secondly, what you should be doing is when you do get a hold of them, it's important to build a little bit of value. So if you do get a hold of them, make sure to ask them some of those open-ended questions so they realize how important this is and then how important it is for them to come in for that free consultation. Michelle Baker asked a question. I'm more than interested in a consult. I am an alternative therapy practitioner, but I'm in the process of trying to figure out how to convert my sole practitioner business into multi-practitioner practice with an assistant. The marketing acquisition part is not as a worry as much as I am building the business from where it is. Okay, great. So, Michelle, what I'll do is I'll get you to maybe just message me specifically. I'm going to give this link here. Some people are asking for the link in the chat here. So just give me 1 second. Click on that link for the $7 training program. So do you know what? So Michelle, just contact me specifically and then we can go through that. My email address is david@gustinquon.com for 1.5 hours of free training. Solana, there's another question here. Do you know the percentage of clinics that have gotten progress from taking time to do a free consult prior to QEG? We are a pretty busy office. Do you think it'd be beneficial for the BrainCore tech to consult with the patient interested, then relaying that information to the doctor? I think I already answered that, Lana, so I know you're pretty busy. So I do think it's worth, either training the technician really well is an option, or making the time to do the free consult is really well. That way you can grow your practice very quickly. Like when you think about it, my top performing clinics, just to be straightforward, are the ones who do the free consults. They do anywhere from 15 to about 35 grand a month in new BrainCore patients. So, and they charge like 3 to 4 grand a patient. Thank you. Any other questions that you guys have? I'll just wait as they come in. Another question we had is the $7 a month for the training center, is that per month? The answer is no, it's a one-time fee. It's $7 and then you get access to everything. And the materials are always being updated. So if you pay it once, you can go back in there and there'll always be new information there in terms of the marketing, what to say, not to say, things like that. Great. Kate, another question about the Wake Up. So the Wake Up and Succeed package, this right here. So that package is for some clinics who just want to get leads to the door, want consults booked, and don't want to have to worry about any of those other issues. They just want patients showing up their door. So that's what that's there for. And the reason we started doing that package is because in the past, so yeah, Candace, I'll get back to you in just 1 second here. In the past, we would get leads for clinics, and then sometimes they wouldn't get back to them quick enough, or they wouldn't have time to follow up, or they wouldn't follow up properly. So we tried to make up this package so it's a no-brainer. You literally just pay one fee, and then everything is done for you. And I think, Candace, our training session for tomorrow is an hour, or whatever it says on the invite there. Great. Any other questions come in? No problem, Candace. You're so responsive. It's great. Yeah, looking forward to the consulting and training too. Okay, great. I think I don't see any other questions coming in right now. Oh, looks like there's one more here. Oh, Michelle Baker's asking where I sent the link. I put it into the chat here, in the webinar chat. So are you able to see that, Michelle? There, I just sent it to you, Michelle. You should have it there. Okay, great. I think that's all the questions. Feel free to message me. Yeah, no problem. You're welcome, Michelle. Feel free to message me personally. I put my email address, in there as well. If you guys need any help with your clinic, whether it's just free help or not, let me know, and we're here to support you. So thanks for your time, Dr. Guy and Dr. Eagle. I think I'll bring you guys back on so that we can wrap up this piece and send out the recording to everybody.
Thanks, David. That was fantastic. I'm really excited for all the information that you provided. I hope everybody takes advantage of that $7 offer and gets all that information and then follows up with you afterwards.
Yep.
I don't see any more questions. I was trying to manage them behind the scenes while you were doing that, so I hope it wasn't too confusing for you.
Nope.
When they were disappearing off the screen.
No, I had a guardian angel there. I know.
Fantastic. All right. Well, again, everybody, thank you for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be doing another one at some point.
Yep.
And we'll get that on the schedule. But as for now, we really appreciate everybody joining us, and I'm going to get this up on our BrainCore member site, so anybody who wasn't here or didn't see the end of it or had to leave earlier, it'll be on it forever for people to look at. So,
excellent.
all right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
All right. Bye.